Next, a gang of Bulgarian crooks have been jailed for fleecing the taxpayer out of almost 54 million quid in benefits. The five fraudsters filed an estimated 6,000 bogus universal credit claims between 2016 and 2021.
Well, this is believed to be Britain's biggest ever benefit scam. Let's hope it is. I hope there's nothing bigger than that out there, my word. With the gang laundering the cash to buy expensive cars, clothing and jewellery. Well, joining us live is former police officer Mike Neville. Mike, you know, when I saw this story, it was breathtaking, but on some level, I didn't find myself particularly surprised by it. I mean, one can point to all of the lazy working from home civil servants who probably just ticked a box going, yeah, fine, you know, this latest avatar has been invented who wants to claim benefits and they're from Bulgaria, yeah, that's fine, just process it, input the data, off you go. But do you think that there are gangs in places like Bulgaria who are looking at the UK and coming here deliberately to commit these crimes, who back home have figured out how they're going to dupe the system and have come in order to do that rather than just sort of stumbled across it fortuitously when they got here?
Well, what they see is, of course, we're utter fools, aren't we? We're utter mugs. They know that the benefit system is very easy to swindle. And even if you get caught, what they're going to get? 3, 4 years? What will be in that? 2 or 3 years in prison? And when you see the photographs of these characters with £20 notes thrown all over the bedroom, that's my £20 note, yours, Alex, yours, Kevin, your viewers and listeners. That's all their £20 notes. And it shows the ridiculousness of paying benefits in cash, because if you pay benefits in cash rather than here's a voucher that you can get some bread and cheese with that people really wouldn't want unless we're desperate, it is so bad. And it just sums up broken Britain, doesn't it? That it's too easy just to swindle. If you're hardworking, you're decent, you do the right thing, you've got people like this who are ripping us off. We've got enough villains and criminals of our own in this country without importing them from the rest of the world.
There they are in that film, all enjoying themselves, hurling £20 notes into the air. They were operating out of a number of establishments, but one was a grocery store, a legitimate grocery store in the Wood Green area of North London. And behind that store were holdalls full of literally millions of pounds. So they found it very, very easy to rip off our benefits system. How do we stop that? What are the cops doing about this? I mean, are they vigilant on this kind of thing? Because it doesn't look like it.
Not at all, Kevin. So if you're going to commit crime, my advice is to them, to criminals, is to commit fraud. If you look at there's a thing called action fraud where things are reported. It's really inaction fraud. So the police are not really catching many burglars and robbers and rapists, those people who physically hurt people. But one of the things that's just ignored is fraud. So if you look at crime figures, you'll get the police publishing data where they'll say, oh, crime is going down, and then there'll be an asterisk. And when you look right at the bottom of the page, there'll be a little comment saying, not including fraud. And the idea that this is like a unique circumstances, this is going to be happening everywhere. If you look at the bonuses that were paid during COVID, how many billions of pounds were ripped off there? It's just too easy to come to this country and steal hard-working people's money. It's just with a soft touch. And the way to stop it, I suggest this. If I could employ me in the government, I'll stop it tomorrow. If people are that desperate and hungry they need benefits, then we'll give them a voucher where they can have so much bread, so much cheese, so much ham and so much vegetables. That would be very easy to sell, very, very hard to sell. Whereas when you start giving people cash, it's very easy just to rip off the state. And we've seen this, and there'll be hundreds of cases like this that haven't been uncovered.
Yeah, Mike, I think you make a very good point there, but, you know, no one can propose that in politics, can they, lest be called some sort of fascist. But on a sort of slight segue, talking about fraud and talking about sort of visible fraud, if you will, we were speaking to Isabel Oakeshott earlier on in the programme, and she brought up something that I think is really quite important. When you go to any sort of main town or city in the UK now, you've got a proliferation of hand car washes, funny-looking nail bars. You've got these candy shops all over the main thoroughfare of the capital city, Oxford Street. And all of those, to anyone, even someone who doesn't seem to have, you know, like me, doesn't have much of an understanding of how, you know, money laundering and fraud actually operates, look a bit funny and probably should be investigated.
You're absolutely right, and I've walked down Oxford Street myself. How many American candy stores can you have, and how many people are actually in there? What is the purpose of these places? It's obviously not to sell American candy, but everywhere you can see all this. And as I say, that the police will focus on crimes where, if they do focus at all, they'll focus on things where people get hurt and injured. And so fraud is the ultimate one. And the modern police, policing was never designed to deal with fraud because, of course, now I can sit on this computer, I'm talking to you, but I could be ripping off somebody in Sydney, Australia, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Tokyo, Japan. And no one's going to be able to do that. So these gangs, these Bulgarians or wherever they're from, will look at the UK. Why not target? You wouldn't target Saudi Arabia to do fraud because, of course, if they caught you, they'd cut your hands off and you'd probably be killed. But in the UK, you can rip off millions, tens of millions of pounds, and then maybe get maybe a 2-year sentence, which is to be reduced because the government doesn't provide enough prison places. So it's a very easy thing to do, and we're just going to attract more and more of this until we get a grip. And if people call me fascist or anybody else who believes in it fascist, then let them do so. I don't mind being called names, but we need to get a grip.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems to me that this is all out of control. Benefit fraud, identity theft, online fraud. The police need to raise their game, don't they, and really get to grips with this fast escalating scourge.
Well, the police don't keep up with things. So villains will always look at, so what's the next, but you've got AI, you've got computers, you've got the internet, you can do things internationally. And the police, of course, are focusing on the local burglar maybe, or the local thief and whatever else. And so the world has become an absolutely enormous place where you can sit in a room in one country and rip people off in a million other countries. And so that needs to be sorted out. But at the moment, I think about 1% of frauds are prosecuted. So if you're a criminal and you think, well, I've got 99% chance of getting away with this, you will. And if you know you're going to get a light prison sentence, you'll target the countries where that happens.
Exactly. Mike, thank you ever so
much. Well done, Mike.
Much.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about a career change. What about you, Kev?
What, benefit fraud?
No, just fraud in general. We can make after the show. Let's go to the pub and make a list of countries that we can target.
Yes, indeed.